promise my head isn't just floating, like I'm not in a green screen. I just have like a black background and then I'm wearing my boo on my shirt. Love him. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you all are doing awesome today. So in today's video, this video has been very highly requested ever since I moved into my apartment. And as you can tell by the title, this video is going to be all about how I budget my money and how I support myself on my own. Now, I get questions about this all the time because I know it is very difficult for people, especially who are in their early 20s or just getting out of college, and they don't really know where to start or what to do, and they don't really know how to budget money or how I do it, because I am someone who, I do work 2 minimum wage jobs, one of them being YouTube and the other one I work at a coffee shop. So I do not bring in a shit ton of money like other YouTubers do. I honestly don't know how they do it. It amazes me sometimes when I see the way certain YouTubers live. I'm like, bitch, how? Because like, you don't really make that much off of YouTube, at least with a channel like mine you don't. It definitely does help, but it's not anything close to what you see all these other YouTubers making, which is probably because I refuse to sign with the network and I refuse to have like a brand deal of any kind or anything like that. So that's probably why. But yeah, I do work 2 minimum wage jobs. I am a very average, regular person, which a lot of you guys really appreciate. I really appreciate it because I've never ever wanted to be super rich. I've never wanted to, you know, have a lot of fancy cars or a fancy house or anything like that. I didn't grow up with much. I grew up with a single mom. She was raising me, my sister, and my brother. So she had 3 kids, worked a full-time job, had a house. So I kind of became very accustomed, and I kind of got to know early on what it was like to not live with much. So that's kind of what I like to live my life by now. Not like struggling or anything like that, but just comfortable. Like what makes me comfortable and happy. And a lot of you guys want to know how I do it, you know, how I afford to get tattoos, pay my rent, take care of my dogs, go grocery shopping, make sure my lights stay on, all that kind of stuff. So here I'm going to give you guys the very realistic approach about how I afford the things that I afford, how I pay my rent on time, how I budget my money, all that sort of stuff. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So the very first thing that I want to say, I have always just lived in apartments when it comes to like supporting myself. I have never bought my own house or anything. So if you're kind of looking for a video on how to, you know, pay for a house and things like that, I can't really help you because renting an apartment by yourself is a lot different than owning a house. So if you are someone out there who's looking for advice on how to buy a house, can't really help you there. But if you're someone who is in, you know, your early 20s and you really want to get your own apartment, this is the perfect video for you because I'm going to tell you how I do it. Now, the most important thing, and now this is something that I struggle with because I'm not a patient person, I'm not someone who's very willing to wait for things, but honestly the most important thing about moving out on your own is taking enough time to save money and having patience. I cannot stress that enough. You can't say, I want to go get an apartment, and the next day you're in and moved in and living, you know, living your life. That's not how it works. I mean, if you have expendable money like that, that's fine, but if you're someone who is working a minimum wage job like myself, you kind of have to give yourself time and patience to save up the appropriate amount of money that you need to support yourself, basically. So yeah, like I said, I have rented the apartment that I am living in currently. I've been here for about 3 years now. I much prefer renting over owning. I've never owned a house because that takes way more time, money, and commitment. I've always much preferred renting because if something breaks, I don't have to worry about it. That is my landlord's responsibility. Whereas if you own your own house and your toilet explodes, you have to pay for that. So besides having time and patience and all that to save up money, one of the other things, and I did kind of make a little like list of everything that I need to tell you guys because I really want this to be as thorough as possible. I really want you guys to kind of understand where I'm coming from and all that kind of stuff. So the first thing you really want to have is you want to have a really reliable income, at least for 6 months or more. A lot of apartments, if you have a job for 1 week, a lot of apartments will not rent to you because you haven't had that job and that income long enough to have an apartment. They want to make sure that you have a stable, steady job and that income keeps coming in, you know, pretty regularly at the end of the month, because they want to make sure that if they're going to be renting to you, they want to make sure that they are going to get their rent money and that they are going to get it on time and in full. So just make sure that you have a reliable income. Find a job that you really like. Find a job really close to the place that you want to rent or want to live or whatever. Another really good thing to keep in mind is once you do find a job and you do figure out how much money you bring in a month, all that kind of good stuff, you want to find a place that is going to fit your budget. So if you're someone who's going to be doing this by yourself, maybe find a 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment close to your work. Make sure you go on their website or call them or go there and ask it, hey, what is your monthly rent for a 1-bedroom, 1-bath? Does your rent increase every year? Because some apartments, unfortunately, every new year the rent increases. So it's very important to kind of find out that kind of thing, like, does your rent increase every year? How much is a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, or how much is a 2-bedroom, 1-bath? For me, I live in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment. I have my bedroom, and my second bedroom is used for my filming room, or my YouTube room, as I like to call it. Make sure it definitely fits in your budget because you don't want to stretch yourself short. Another thing, right after you do that and you find a place that's going to fit into your budget, the next thing you have to do is save, save, save. Because just because you find an apartment you like, you don't just get to move in. You have to pay an application fee. You have to make sure that you get approved to move in because they don't want any, like, you know, sex offenders or murderers to move in. So you have to pay an application fee. They do a credit check. They do a background check. Not every place, but some places do those things, and you have to pay for that application fee. Sometimes you have to pay to have a background check done or anything like that. If you have pets, you have to put down a pet deposit, and you have a pet fee on top of your rent. You also have to pay a security deposit before you move in. So if you move out and something is broken, they have that money to fix it, and then when you move out, you usually do get that security deposit back, but before you move in, you have to pay that. And sometimes you also have to have first month's rent on top of that. So it's all about saving money. I would recommend, me personally, what I did to, once you find a place and you start saving money, I saved about $3,000, $3,000 separately so that I knew I had enough for a security deposit, first month's rent, the pet deposit, the pet fee, all that kind of stuff. Now this will be a little bit cheaper for you if you know you don't have pets or your rent isn't that expensive or so on and so forth. And also it really kind of all depends on where you live and what area you live in. For instance, where I live, apartments are pretty reasonable in today's times, whereas in California or New York, they're going to be a lot more expensive. So just kind of keep into account where you guys live. For the sake of this video, I'm not going to tell you how much I pay in rent. I'm not going to tell you how much all my bills are. Like, it's no one's business as to how much I make a month or how wealthy or how poor I am. Like, it really doesn't matter. I'm just kind of giving you guys little pointers as to what I did. So right off the bat, I saved $3,000, and then whatever was left over after paying all my fees and all that, I went out and I bought my very first couch. Because obviously if you've never lived on your own before, you're not going to have a lot of furniture. You're not going to have pots and pans. You're not going to have a couch. You're not going to have a TV. You know, you're not going to have, like, oh God, I don't know, an end table, you know what I'm saying? So whatever's left over from that money, you can start using that little by little to kind of get furniture that you need. So once you do that and you officially save up all the money you need and you know everything that you're going to have to pay for, the next thing you need to take into account is all of the bills that you are going to have once you move in. Because when you move into an apartment, you don't just have rent. And this also depends on the apartment complex. For instance, mine, I got very, very lucky. Heat and water are all included in my rent. I don't have to pay for those separately. I got very, very lucky with that. Some apartments make you pay for water, some apartments make you pay for heat, all on top of your monthly rent. So you kind of just have to ask those questions, find out what's included, what's not included. And then what I like to do is I like to take a piece of paper and I like to write down every single bill that I have every single month. One thing that I would very, very highly recommend to you guys is getting one of these home finance bill organizers. I have used this every single month I have ever lived here, and it is just full of paperwork, proof that I've paid my bills. One of these will seriously be such a great help to you. I literally use it every single month. It's a way to keep me very organized. I am a very organized, clean person. So the more I have things written down where I can see them, it's a lot better. So for instance, rent, say your rent's like $700. Insurance for your car or health insurance, write that down. Your phone payment, your electric payment, your internet payment, your cable payment, your dog food, your dog vet bills, you know, every single total of what everything is going to cost, write it down. Now, again, every month will be different because you don't take your dog to the vet every month. You don't. For me, I get dog food maybe about once a month, so I'll write that down. But you're not going to need to take your dog to the vet every month or the groomers every month or things like that. But things like, you know, rent, electric, phone bill, health insurance, car insurance, those do happen every month whether you like it or not. Whether you're having money troubles one month, you know, those bills are still due. So it's very, very important to kind of write all of those things down so you can kind of see what that is. And then after you do that, once you have all of those bills kind of written down, now again, it's the electric bill and things like that, and water bills and heat bills are gonna vary on, you know, what time of year it is, or how much water you use, or how much laundry you do, or how much electricity you use. But I've lived on my own long enough to kind of guesstimate as to how much it's going to be every month. For instance, in the summer it is a little bit higher just because I do use my air conditioner a lot, and it's just one of those like electric ones. So I do use that a lot more. So maybe my electric bill this month is going to be around $50, $60, whereas in the winter time it's going to be maybe $20. So it really kind of all depends the time of the year, but once you kind of get the hang of it, you will be able to kind of guesstimate how much each thing is going to be. So once you have everything written down and you add up the total amount every month of what your bills are, make sure, now this is very important, make sure you can afford to do that every single month. And like I said, that total, after all your bills are paid, that total amount of bills that you pay, again, it's going to vary. Sometimes it'll be more, sometimes it'll be less. So make sure the income that you have, whether your job pays really well or not enough, make sure you can afford it, plus have a little bit of wiggle room. So in case your dog gets sick and you need to go to the vet, or you need to get gas in your car, or you have to go to the grocery store, or whatever you need to do, you want to make sure that you have enough to pay for all your regular bills and a little bit of wiggle room for all the bills that pop up every few months or so. You know what I'm saying? And this is just something that's very, very realistic. If you work a minimum wage job, it is almost unheard of, and it is almost impossible to support yourself on one minimum wage job. So what I would recommend for that is maybe find a job that has full-time benefits. You get raises every 6 months or every year. Find a really good job. But if you're someone like me and is comfortable at a minimum wage job, you're not going to be able to afford an apartment on just that one income, which is why I have 2 incomes. For instance, if for some reason something happened with my job or something happened with YouTube, I would be in a little bit of a pickle because minimum wage jobs cannot afford apartments anymore these days. Back in the day, yeah. Nowadays, no way. So if you're someone who has one minimum wage job, a big thing that I would recommend to you is maybe finding a reliable friend or roommate or something. Now I say reliable because that is very important, especially if your name is on that lease. If you have a roommate come in and they are not on that lease and they do not pay you rent, you're going to be the one in trouble because your name is on that lease. Now if you and that other person sign the lease together and they don't pay their rent, they are going to be responsible. I hope that's making sense. So make sure that you are finding someone who is reliable, someone who is going to pay you half the rent on time. Me personally, if someone is living with me, everything is split in half. You are paying me half the rent, you are paying for half the groceries, so on and so forth. If we're sharing this space together, it's 50-50. So the bills are automatically 50-50. If that's not how you want to do it, that's fine. That's just the way I like to do it. But now, another thing that I've never really talked about here on my channel before, but like I said in the beginning, you know, I'm not rich. I'm not used to having a lot of things. I'm not used to having a lot of money. There have been some months where it has literally been paycheck to paycheck. if I have a doctor bill or one of my bills was way higher than I thought it was going to be, or my taxes are due or something like that. There have been months where I have lived paycheck to paycheck, but what I would recommend for you is if you want to live on your own and be comfortable, like me, I'm comfortable. Like, I don't have expendable amounts of money, but I don't have nothing. You know what I'm saying? I think a good solid medium to have for income is about $2,500 to $3,000 a month. As far as income, if, like I said again, if you just want to be comfortable, if you want to have more money, I would recommend, you know, not moving out on your own and saving as much as you possibly can. Me, I moved out as soon as possible because I left my first apartment. I lived with my dad, and then as soon as the other one above him opened up, I moved in right away. So I didn't have the opportunity. If I could go back, I would maybe save $6,000 to $10,000 of my own money, but since I wanted to move in right away, I was only able to save $3,000. But yeah, definitely to be able to live comfortably and afford all your bills, at least $2,500 to $3,000 a month. At least that is what has worked for me. I'm not saying that's what I make every month. Again, that just kind of varies person to person. And like I said, after a while of living on your own, it will get easier and you will kind of come accustomed as to what's due, how much money you'll have left after this, and this is paid. It really does get a lot easier, and eventually you don't even realize it. Writing a bill just is like brushing your hair. Like, it just comes natural to you after a while. Now, what I'm going to talk about is my personal life and how I personally do it, because as you guys know, I do buy things. I do buy makeup. I go and get tattoos. I do buy purses. I do go out and buy things at the mall sometimes. And again, this is where this big guy comes in handy a lot. I got this one at Dollar General. You can find them at craft stores probably. You can find them at dollar stores, wherever, Walmart, Meijer, Target even. This is where that comes in to play big time. So the one thing that I always do before I go and buy any makeup, before I go online and buy anything, I make sure every single one of my bills is going to be able to be paid for first. My bills and my dogs always come first before I go out and buy my luxury makeup and purses and Michael Kors and Bath & Body Works candles, you know what I'm saying? So I do make sure everything that I'm supposed to pay for that is due, I make sure that is paid for first. And when it comes to my dogs, if they need anything, I take care of them first. I put my dogs before myself. And that's another thing too, is with my dogs, I do keep a $500 safety net for my dogs. If something goes wrong with my car, if something goes wrong with me and I have to go to the hospital, anything like that, I keep a $500 safety net that I do not touch. I never ever touch that money. Sometimes it's a little bit hard not to touch it, but I will not touch it. That is my emergency fund. $500 to $1,000 is, I would say, a pretty good emergency fund. Maybe a little more if you're prone to accidents or anything like that. But that's just what I like to do. But yeah, so I make sure all of my bills and my dogs and everything like that is taken care of first. That is when I will go out and I will say, okay, this is how much money you have left over, this is how much you're going to put away, and this is how much you can have fun with. That is when I will go on Jeffree Star Cosmetics, or I will go to the mall, or I will, you know, go to Michael Kors, you know, things like that. You know, I am very, very smart about it. I am very smart with my money. I don't just blow through a paycheck. I have never in my life paid a bill late. My bills are always paid early and on time. It's living on your own is something that you have to take very seriously, and it's something that you have to really be ready for, and it's something that you definitely have to commit to. You know, like, it's not a joke. Like, living on your own is very serious. It is your first step into adulting. It is something that you will literally do until the day that you die. So paying your bills on time is very important, not only for you and your money, it's also very good for your credit score. I have fantastic, amazing credit. After I lived on my own for a while, I decided to apply for a credit card, and I would make little purchases here and then and make on-time payments. That's a really good way to build credit, or getting a car loan and making car payments. That is also really good for your credit. So because I've been so responsible and so smart with living on my own, I have a fantastic credit score. So if for some reason my car does take a shit or something like that and I need to finance something, I have great credit, so I will be able to do so. It's just very, very important to kind of be smart, take into consideration everything that you need to pay for, look at the income that you have, think about everything really, really hard before you jump into it. I was thrown into the adult world very early in my life. I got my very first apartment with my boyfriend when I was 18, 19, I want to say. If I could go back and change it, I would probably still live at home today just because I would be able to save so much more money. I would be able to put money away for a house, or I would be able to put more money away for a car. But because I made the decision to move out and live on my own at such a young-ish age, I mean, I'm going to be 25, so not young now, but like back then, making the decision to move out on my own, you know, it was a little bit of a risk, and I can't save as much money as I would like to. The most important things is take your time, be patient, make sure you have enough money, and be smart. Those are my most top important things. Now also, if you are someone who has a child, children are a lot more expensive than dogs. It's going to be a lot more money for you to take care of your child and live on your own. So again, don't look at my life and be like, oh yeah, I can do that, because everyone has it different. You know, some people are 18 and they have 2 kids, some people are 25 and don't have any kids. So it really kind of all depends on the person and how much money you make and what part of the country that you live in, or what country you live in, or what apartments go for in your area. So really make sure you do your research, ask questions. You know, this is your money. Don't put yourself in a hole. Don't stretch yourself short. You do not want to live like that. I promise you do not want to live like that. I don't know if you guys ever knew this, but when I lived in my very first apartment with my boyfriend, that's when I really started to take off on my YouTube channel and really kind of take it seriously. But we were just living off of his income, and there were a few times, if you guys remember my recliner couches that I used to have, we had to sell those on Craigslist to pay rent. And we had to sell our TV to pay rent. And that, you don't want to live like that. You don't. I never told anybody that, but I have lived very rough before, and it's not fun. And our living room turned into just having a futon. It was just not good. You don't want to live like that. So just make sure you can do it before you do it. Don't think it's going to be easy at first, because it's not. It will get better and it will get easier over time. So I really hope this video was informative for you guys. I hope I gave you enough thorough, in-depth information. Hopefully it was helpful to you. I'm sorry if I seemed a little like serious in this video. I know people hate when I'm serious on my channel, but that's just how I talk. Like when I'm talking about something and I really want to like make a point, I get very serious about it. I had a really great time filming this. I feel really good about this video. I feel like it's going to help a lot of people out there. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video as well. If you did, make sure to give a huge, huge thumbs up. Don't forget to go down and subscribe to my channel. I would greatly appreciate it. You guys are awesome. You mean the world to me. I love you. Make sure you are turning on the notification bell to get notified of all of my future uploads. But as always, and until then, I will see you guys very soon in my next video. I love you guys. Bye!